Morning. My name is Michael Heim, and I'm the energy research analyst for Noble Capital Markets. Today we have with us enCore Energy, and specifically we have Paul Goranson and William Sheriff, who are going to give a presentation on their company. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bill to start the program.
Thank you, Michael, and welcome everyone to NobleCon. I want to tell you, introduce you to enCore Energy. We're a domestic U.S. uranium explorer and developer. The usual disclaimer. I want to give you a little bit of the background on the company. First, we came out of Energy Metals Corp. For the most part, which was a very successful uranium company in the 2005 to 2008 cycle, which was really the last uranium cycle we've had. So we're well overdue. But we brought that company up from below $2 million to almost $2 billion and sold out to Uranium One. After a short period of time on the board, many of us left to start enCore. We've got essentially the same technical team we had at Energy Metals, with the noted addition of a couple of members that I'll get to on the board, and especially Paul Goranson, our CEO, brings a wealth of experience. Once we got started, our timing was not particularly good. It was right before Fukushima, so the company was actually in a hibernation or a bit of a hiatus for a better part of a decade. And even took the unprecedented step of sending out a note to shareholders telling them that for 5 to 10 years there would be no interest in the sector following Fukushima. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever, it turned out to be correct. It wasn't until, so we basically went into a period where we'd acquire assets when we could, very frugal, maintained a very, very tight rein on the checkbook. And it wasn't until really about a year ago that we began to see the markets changing, the fundamentals and the supply-demand metrics for the long term looking very favorable for uranium. And then last summer we shifted and decided to jump into it with both feet and really move forward with the company. And we made a transformational transaction with Westwater Resources, just closed at the end of this last year, 2020, on the last day of the year. And that saw us pick up 2 key production plants. There are only 11 ISR plants in the U.S., and we were able to own 2 of them through that transaction. Also got quite a few assets both in Texas and in New Mexico with historical resources, and really put together the base for our expansion plans and really got us going. Our entire focus is on domestic ISR production. And with becoming an active company, one of the first and probably the most important key things to add was the team leader. And as I mentioned, Paul joined us about 4 months ago, and really glad to have him on board. You'll hear a bit more from him in a few minutes. The supply deficit I wanted to mention that we see emerging, the pricing that should be good for the next cycle, is really growth in demand along with curtailment of supply are the 2 biggest factors in my mind. You've also got a number of other factors that are certainly providing very strong tailwinds to the story, that being the U.S. stockpile program that was recently announced. With the Biden administration coming in, the new green energy plan certainly is going to have an emphasis on nuclear, as you just can't get there with wind and solar. You just cannot do it, especially the base loads. Russian suspension agreement also very good, and obviously some other developments such as the modular reactors that are coming on, the small modular reactors, which are aggressively being developed in a number of companies and a number of designs that certainly will increase mid to long term demand in the uranium business. And not I don't want to fail to mention also the safety advances in full size reactors that are coming along, such as fuel rod design and that sort of thing, that are essentially making it almost meltdown proof. So we're really getting into multiple generations of reactor designs, and the safety factor is quite a bit.